And there it is,
Yep.
I think.
Uh-huh.
There it
Uh-huh.
is.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Right.
Ooh.
Let's see. I know I get some issues with my comments, but
Well, just slide them.
yeah, I
That's it.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
damn it. All
Let
right,
me.
there we go. Aloha, everybody. Aloha Monday. I gotta tell you, lucky we live Hawaii, man. The West Pacific Northwest is boiling right now. I mean, it's hot here and humid, but my dad, my dad in Washington is like 107 today. My kids in Oregon, all triple digits. So lucky we live Hawaii, man. Lucky we live Hawaii.
Well, that's that. It's kind of it remind me when I was down in Guam. It's that humidity. It's like, ugh, sticky.
Yeah,
You take, even if you take about 2, 3 showers, just you still don't feel right. It's so sticky.
yeah.
Just your skin sticks to the sheet. You use those dry fit type sheets. Even that doesn't help. Run the AC all night.
Yeah, we the AC goes on early, and then just so that at night it's crispy. But man, as soon as you walk out of the bedroom, it's like walking. Oh, Portland was 116 today. Oh my God. Yeah, as soon
Portland.
as you walk out of the bedroom, man, you get hit with that wall. It's like an oven, really, like an oven. It's incredible.
Wow. Yeah. It's I've been down in Arizona when it was like in the 120s, and it's just like you stick in your head. Like when you baking muffins, or and you put a oven door open and you bend down to go grab them. It feels like it's like, whoa. And so just everybody be safe, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
That's
You
the
can get
key.
lightheaded. Yep.
That is
It
so
can
important because that heat
exhaustion.
illnesses, the heat stroke and the dehydration, man, it just whack you by surprise. So gotta really make sure you hydrate.
Yeah. And if you feel like you get faint, get down your cold rag, douse yourself, bring your body temperature down because your internal body core getting hot already. They
Yeah,
boiling. Yeah.
dangerous. It is very dangerous, actually.
And if you have newborns, please, 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 do not expose them to that hot vehicle. Whatever you do, you make a holo holo. But you know what? Start up your car, turn on the AC first, let the car cool down inside before you bring baby in the car. But do not, because it doesn't take much for them to overheat because they're still brand new, still newborns. And I know we all love our keiki, so just keep them safe. Yep. Mm-hmm. Share, share, share.
Tonight we have a special show. Tonight, special guest, Governor Ben Cayetano.
Yep.
I am so thankful that he agreed to come on tonight.
Yes.
And the fun part is I don't have an idea what we're going to talk about, man. We're gonna give him the floor, and then we're gonna take it from there. So I know there's a few of you that sent over some questions. I'm gonna ask you guys one time to be civil because I saw some comments earlier. Um, you know the rules, guys. I do not care who you are. You be civil or you be booted. That's the only warning you're gonna get. All right. I saw some very negative comments, and that's not why we bring people on our show, as you know. So just be civil. We value everybody's opinion. Just got to be civil about it. All right. But now would be
Yeah.
a good time. Hit the share button. Hit the share button. I got some questions about for Governor Ben Cayetano. Overall, I want to hear his take on how we are as a state with the current leadership. Um, I know there was a question about the tobacco settlement money, which he is very, very, very uh, adamant about keeping intact. He actually wrote an article about that. I want to ask him about rail. I want to ask him about what he thinks the state's response to COVID. Just whatever comes to mind, Charlie. We're just gonna rapid fire this guy. I mean, um,
Well, it'll be interesting to know what is his take on all of that. If he was mayor today, I mean, mayor, governor, he was governor today. what was it? What would his approach be? I know he was part of the group very, very adamant against the rail. Oh, and whether we like it or not, looking back what he said, he was right. That group was right. We shouldn't have plunked. We should have had a better plan, a contingency plan that would be in place in case things got out of hand. And what happened is a lot of things got out of hand, and just it was, like when you have a runaway train, right? A runaway train. You can only warn everybody way down the tracks. It's coming. Stay clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That now I am actually really really excited about hearing his take. It's interesting from back then to now. Things have changed. Everything has changed in Hawaii. We all know that.
Mhm.
But leadership, uh, while leadership styles may differ and change with different leaders, the
Right.
the focus really should be the same, right? It's getting things done efficiently, effectively, and you're really in charge of the taxpayer money. And it's a joint responsibility between the governor and the legislature. But you know, someone told me the other day, Cayetano reminded them of a version of Mayor Tony Kurimura, where
Mm.
it was just a matter of a little rough around the edges sometimes. But you know what? Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes the one thing I respect about leaders, whether we agree or disagree, is the fact that they can be straight up, open, and honest and transparent. And that's kind of what I think we lack. Although I will say this, over the last several months, uh, I would say that Governor Ige took, in my opinion, took the right course as far as the safety. He was very conservative as far as waiting. Recently, I think the pressure and the pressure of opening up got to him, but because he's opening earlier than he said he would. But many opportunities, many a lot of pressure that was put on him by business, by the chambers, by the lieutenant governor. He stood his course as far as keeping us safe, and a lot of people got upset with that. But I think what we will be seeing in the next few weeks is going to really tell the story, if in fact it was a wise decision to open up so soon.
Well, I did post something in Facebook today, and some people have asked, Uncle, you've gone totally underground. We don't see any posts like you used to, and it's just because I've been busy. But I do want to say I did post a large gathering within the terminal as people are checking out to on arrival of the to our islands. And even with all the precautions like stickers on the ground, keep people 6 feet apart. Man, it's bumper to bumper. It's Okole to the front side, Okole to front side. They're just lining up, and I said, man, it's it almost seems as if there's no cares in the world. So I'm glad I'm not part of that circus. Um, we have a problem with rental cars. Yet Honolulu Airport, you see they have that new rental car system there. They have multi rental cars in that one complex, their parking complex, and no people waiting. And I think if COVID won't get to you, impatience will. That's yeah,
Yeah,
just that's I think that's what's
it's gonna get bad, man. I tell you, it's gonna get bad. Laurel just posted. Now they detected a Delta Plus in India, which so far they're saying is even worse. Wow. Yeah, I think, and I think we heard this from Dr. Jerome Kim. We heard it from Dr. Miskovich the other night that variants are going to come, and it is going to continue to evolve, and that's why it's so important to get as many people vaccinated as possible. But absent that, I mean, we're going to see variants. We're going to see variants, new variants. You heard Dr. Miskovich say there's hundreds of variants that
Mhm.
really haven't made an impact, but the ones that have, like the Delta and the Delta Plus and all of these different variants that are actually more deadly and more contagious, we'll see more of those, and we're going to have to adapt and adjust. And that's why I'm kind of concerned that, and I'm curious to get Governor Cayetano's take on the opening. At the same time, the variant has made its way to Hawaii. To me, I just cannot figure it out. But I guess they know what's best, right?
Yep.
See, we shall see. It's again, it's going back to in many of the states now. They're just restrictions are being totally lifted while the variant is running rampant, and we're going to see what's happening in other places. Again, it's always a concern of the community, the pockets that the vaccination rates are low. And we have those pockets here in Hawaii. It's not just on the mainland. We have communities and locations here in Hawaii that are the vaccination rates are low. And we have areas that are very high, but uh, scary stuff. Scary stuff. So it's got to be careful.
Well, it brings to mind some of the comments that have been made on recent news broadcasts with our emergency room physician, who's also our lieutenant governor. And his advice is get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. If you want to keep it on, get vaccinated. Well, Israel now are having reports of people who are fully vaccinated getting ill, seriously ill with the virus, with the different variants. So it comes to fruition that we sit back and we say, well, if you got MD after your name, you must know something. But just because it doesn't happen in Hawaii, what I'm saying is it's happening. It just hasn't reached us yet. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
I said, don't just because Hawaii doesn't show signs, don't play as if you can discount it. Because when you got all these countries like Israel, and they had nearly 90% of their population vaccinated. Now they're getting attacked by this variant, and they don't know why. So all I'm saying is, you know, don't discount this variant. You know, getting vaccinated may lessen the blow, but between you and I don't want it at all.
Absolutely.
you know, all it takes is just, I might be, if I should get sick by it, what if I'm just that 1% that just couldn't lick it and it takes me down? Then what does my family do? You know?
All right. Well, here we go. Let's bring in the governor. Man, I'm nervous actually. I'm kind of nervous, really.
Don't be nervous. He's connecting to his audio. There he is. Hello, Governor. How are you?
Hi Mel, how you doing?
We're doing fine. You're looking good. You're looking good, sir.
I'll be 82 this year.
Congratulations.
82. Wow.
Wow.
What's the secret?
Good food, I guess, or something. You stymied me with that question.
Well, Governor, thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, I'm Mel. That's Charlie, the Hawaiian. And for those of you that do not know, this is former Governor Ben Cayetano, one of Hawaii's most esteemed leaders, and I mean that when I say that. And we are so honored to have you on tonight, sir. Just cannot wait to hear what you have to your words of wisdom for all of us here.
Well, by the way, I mistake Charlie for Mel, so sorry about that.
No, no, no.
I
Don't
haven't
do
seen
it.
it in a long time. So how do you guys want me to start?
Well, however you want to start, Governor. I mean, it's give us some just give us a quick overview. I think what we're all interested in hearing. I mean, you know, you had your terms of office here, but what are you seeing today? What's your observations? What's your insights on Hawaii and the changes that's occurred and whatever you want to talk about, sir?
Okay, I think that maybe I should give a little bit of my background. Uh, I grew up in Kalihi. Um, my parents were divorced. My father, who was from the Philippines, came to Hawaii with a third grade education, raised my brother and me. There were only two of us. And I went to I attended Farrington High School. Didn't do well there, almost flunked out. uh, I got married when I was to my high school sweetheart when I think I wasn't even 19 or still 18, I believe. And two kids followed. And it was then I began to see the light, in terms of how unprepared I was to deal with the adult world. And so I, got, I went through a series of jobs. I drove a truck. I worked in a junkyard. I worked as an electrician apprentice, and then I was laid off. And then I ended up working for the state. And in 1963, I told my wife, "We're getting out of here. We're getting out of Hawaii because we can't afford to live here." So we moved to Los Angeles, and in LA, I got a job with the California Highway Department, and I was surprised. They were paying me at $600-700 more a month than Hawaii. And then I decided to go to college. So I went to a small junior college called Harbor Junior College, and then I transferred to UCLA, graduated in 1968. Then I went to I attended Loyola Law School, got my law degree in 1971. And the day after graduation, I was home because a law firm in Hawaii had recruited me out of law school to work with them. So I practiced law, and then in 1973, I think it was, Governor Burns asked if I was willing to serve on the Hawaii Housing Authority, which was a very important uh, uh, agency at that particular time. And I hadn't campaigned for him because I was on the mainland. And I accepted. And the day I was sworn in, I asked Governor Burns, and this conversation was the only conversation I ever had with him. I said, "Governor, why did you appoint me to this position? I was on the mainland, I couldn't campaign for you." And he said, "Well, Ben, there are not too many Filipinos who become lawyers." And that was the truth. In 1971, there were hundreds of Japanese and Chinese and Haole lawyers, but there were about 2 dozen Filipino lawyers. And that stayed with me for a long time. And it's one of the reasons why I considered Jack Burns, this police captain from Montana, wherever he was, really the best governor we have ever had. And that lesson that he put into me when I became governor, I appointed to the Attorney General's office Marjorie Bronson, a woman, a Jewish American woman from New York who I'd never met before, but I thought she was the best qualified. And so that began my political career in the legislature. I was elected in '74. I ran in a district where nobody thought I could win because 65 Japanese Americans in that district. And when the labor union came to see me to run for office, I said, "Okay, I'm interested." He told me, "You got to move to Kalihi or you got to move to Waipahu." And I asked him, "Why?" He said, they told me, "Because no non-Japanese can win in Pearl City." You know what? Politics wasn't the most important thing to me. And so I told my wife, "I'm gonna run and if I win, fine. If I lose, That's it. I just practice law. Well, I won. I beat this Japanese guy. His name was Tats Kishinami. He really had a English first name, but he wanted to use the Japanese name, you know. What I found out when I won only by 500 votes. But what I found out, well, is that if people don't make race an issue, all the voters are interested in is quality education for the kids, jobs, safe environment, low crime, schools, and all that. And that's what I did. I went out and I said what I wanted to do on those issues. And in 1976, they reelected me. So from 1976 on, Pearl City, this place where they said no non-Japanese could be elected, was the core of my campaigns all the way through the governorship.
Wow. Wow.
I never intended to run for governor. No, this is honest truth. You know, it, these a lot of these things happen by like accident or by luck. You know, I'm a firm believer that people who get from here to there along the way, you're gonna have people popping up and that you don't know, giving you a helping hand. And I think that's what happened to me on my way to the governorship.
Well,
Well,
you know what a wise man once told me long ago was that, Mel, people don't care what you say, people don't care what they're not gonna remember what you said or what you did. They're gonna remember how you made them feel. So I think just hearing you in this first few minutes, I think for me anyway, it's genuine, it's real, and I think that carries a lot, especially in politics, because especially in that kind of district where everybody thinks you don't have a chance, but yet the message was so profound and so real and genuine that they said it's time for a change. So congratulations and thank you for doing that.
Well, when I was in the Senate, I read an opinion piece in Time magazine, and it was written by a Republican senator named Warren Rudman, Rudman. And the point of his opinion piece was he was retiring, he said, because he was disappointed in his colleagues. He said when he was a captain in the Marine Corps, he would order 18, 19, 20-year-olds to do things that may have cost them their lives, or they got wounded, or disabled in some way, but they did their job. These young men did their job. And the point he was raising was politicians, if you lose, people don't shoot you. Just do your job. And if you don't get reelected, then so be it. And that was my philosophy going in, which is why I tended to be kind of outspoken and transparent, I think. And then the big example happened in 2001, September 11, 2001. And here was another example of that particular philosophy. In my State of the State, my last one, I told the legislature, when the World Trade Towers were attacked, hundreds of people were streaming down the steps trying to get out of there. Meanwhile, hundreds of firemen, first responders, police, uh, medical people were going up the steps to rescue whoever was up there that needed help. They must have known that they were in danger. But the point is, they did their job. And 400 of those guys never came back. They died. And that's an example. So the problem with politics is that people start off, I think, well-intended, but after a while, the system beats down on you. And if you're not strong, and if the job becomes the most important thing to you, you're not going to be effective.
well, sir, I first would like to say thank you so much. Being a Kalihi boy myself, but I attended the upper campus up at Kapalama High, above you, up at Kamehameha. So
Yeah,
it was always that ongoing thing, either you went to upper campus or lower campus, depending
right.
where in Kalihi you was living. And but you're right. With politics the way it is today, I can remember um, my mom and dad was very proud when they voted for you when they were alive, and they voted for you. And they too talked about Jack Burns. They talked about Governor Waihee. They talked about Governor Ariyoshi. And so there's a lot of memories in tracks along those ways. And yet there were a lot of tough times, and yet they persevered, which made the evidence for supporting even greater. Some people now say that when they see things getting kind of out of hand, there's not enough strong leadership to bring everybody back into the fold and say, hey, let's buckle down. We're gonna make it through, because everybody starts to run scared, right? And that part is it, I think that's what's happening. That's what I've been seeing.
I feel I was very fortunate to serve with veterans who had gone off to war, and World War II, Korea, and these guys came home, and after going through what they went through, they pretty much had a different perspective on life. You know, being reelected to most of them was not the most important thing. For
Mhm.
most of them, was doing a job that would help improve the lives of the community. I don't know if there are people like that now in the legislature.
I
Mm.
was just going to ask you, you're reading my mind, Governor. Where the heck did we lose that? For me, and I've been in politics a long time, and I never thought of reelection, never did. But it seems like today, and it's so evident that it is all about the reelection. It is all about um, keeping your seat in that legislature. And it's so obvious at times some decisions are made, or especially when we get to hear the discussions, that the best interests of the people may not be the priority. But where and why do you think, or when did that philosophies change, or was it always that way?
No, I think it's changed, and I think part of the reason is that the young people today don't have a connection to the history. When I was uh, younger and in the legislature, some of these guys used to inspire me because of what they did. Whether it was Danny Noy or anybody like that. And a lot of them, I think, for example, Mamoru Yamasaki from Maui. Yeah. Uh, Mamoru, the only thing he ever thought about was the kids. The way you would get him to vote for something, he would ask, "This going to help the kids." They don't ask those kind of questions anymore. I think, and I think part of it also is that our generation, I think we've raised a generation of kids who don't have to deal with tough times.
Well, when you say that, it, it, being a parent myself and raising the children um, the old way, and that is you let them go to school, you teach them what hard work is, you teach them what studying hard is all about, and you let them set that path for success, but always try to remember, don't forget where you came from. And I think a lot of the kids forget that nowadays, because you see it, you ask them, and it gets to the point that when the going gets too tough, um, they pack up and leave. You see a lot of them migrating to the mainland now, yeah, not
Right.
not staying home, not staying home.
But when I got re-elected to the House in 1976, I got a letter, uh, and in the letter was a check for $50, and it was from KG Kawakami. I don't know if you folks ever heard of him. Yeah, KG was a 442 veteran. You know, doesn't talk about it, but I got to know that. And I never met him, but the note he sent me was, "Ben, don't forget where you came from." That was it. And later on, I would meet him, and of course, I had the greatest admiration for people like him.
Yeah, the other night we're at my friend's house, and I'm on I have my own recruiting drive going for the local government here, council. We got to start getting the younger people engaged. And we were talking, and he's one of the kids that I used to coach, and he said, Uncle Mel, you was never scared. You never was scared to speak up. I said, you cannot be. But he said, how you make those tough decisions? Sometimes it's so tough. I said, very simple. You ask yourself, if I vote yes, will my children and their generation benefit or not? If I vote no, will they benefit or not? And then it becomes a very easy question to answer.
Yeah.
When you start infusing the politics and how is it going to impact my next election? How is it going to, what about that union? What about, then that's what we have today. We don't have that thinking of what's best for the generations to come. It's short term, my term, and what do I have to do to get reelected? And that is something I wish we could change back to how it used to be, really. And
I agree with you.
well,
Well, let me
go
let
ahead,
me
Charlie.
yeah, let me ask you something, Governor. And this kind of was kind of aching all day, so I knew I was going to meet a famous guy like yourself. And I heard you speak up very loud and clear when this issue about the rail came about. And now looking at it now, before you came on, I told Mel, boy, he was spot on. Just like you had that crystal ball, knew what was going to happen. And I mean, we're just this state is just pouring money into a bleeding situation, and they can't stop the bleeding. So what do you think's happening now, sir, with that?
Well, on rail, when I was in the legislature, I was chairman of the transportation committee. And at one point, Frank Fossey proposed a rail system. And I was for it initially because, Mel knows most politicians, they want to have this image of being visionary and all of that. And rail was really kind of appealing. Well,
Hmm.
but I made it a point to go to the mainland and visited other rail systems. And I went to University of California, Berkeley, and I had the opportunity to meet with the dean of the School of Urban Planning. And he told me, "Oh, I'm glad to meet you because my class is studying the Honolulu project." And he invited me and some others to a dinner at his house. And 5 hours later, I had more knowledge about what to look for, you know. And I came back. I said it won't fit. It won't work for Honolulu. We don't have enough people. We're too small, etc., etc. So in 2002, I retired. 2012, they were going to do the rail project, and I came out of retirement to run for mayor. I never wanted to be mayor. A terrible job. Um, but if I had been elected, I would have killed the project. Well, every union came up against me. Then Inouye campaigned for my opponents. Uh, it was really kind of one-sided, and of course, I lost that election. But during that time, I said, this project is budgeted for at 5.2 billion. I predict that in a couple of years, it'll be 7 billion. I was wrong. It's now 12 billion. 620 million per mile. That's the highest cost, rail cost, I think, in the nation, if not the world. So, I didn't win the election, but I think Mel knows when you're in office and you take that oath and you're out, it's the spirit still lives with you, you know.
Hmm.
And so that's why I came out of a retirement.
Well, I do want to say thank you so much because I still can remember when you were live and you had that speech about the rail, and you had mentioned all the pitfalls, and it was as if, even for a layperson like myself listening to you, I see what this big project will entail, but then you were calling out all the things along the line that if we're not careful, it's going to start adding up, and you had mentioned that. And then I never thought of it that way. But looking back at it now, I say, gee whiz, he caught it spot on because, like you said, you were wrong because it was way more than what you predicted. But the thing is, that thing just cannot get off the ground. I mean, it's uh, I don't, when I look at it, because I wrote a system similar in Florida, in Miami, the metro that they have down there. And I looked at this rail and I said, well, every time they're kind of like uh, queuing back the stopping point, right? Before it's supposed to go all the way to Waikiki, then come up to Alamana Center, and it's getting shorter and shorter. But yet, how do you recover the amount of money you put into it, right? You would think that you need a lot of ridership and you need distance to cover.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like it's going to meet any of those objectives.
I don't think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're kind of in a pickle right now, and it's one of those things. It's like a hemorrhoid. Yeah, it's there. It's a pain in the okole, and it's just not going to go away. And you can pretend like you're working on it, but the reality is it's not going to get any cheaper. Number one, and the issue is not going to stop. And then you get the pressure or the stress or anxiety of the federal government coming back and said, hey, pay us back the money. We're not going to fund you, and then it's a whole nother issue. So, uh, yeah, I think it's just one of those things that's going to go down. It's probably the worst capital improvement project in the country for sure. I think so. I don't know of any other. It was the bridge to nowhere in Alaska, but I think this one got that beat by a mile.
Oh yeah. Well, as I said earlier, do your job even if it's going to cost you your job. And I try to do my job, and it cost me the job. I lost the election.
I know the feeling, sir. I know that feeling quite well. Hey, shifting gears real quick because we had a lot of viewers that came on and shared some questions today. Tobacco tax settlement money. I know you wrote an op-ed. What the heck, Governor? What the heck? What's your thoughts? I mean, why would they want to go and raid that?
I think even the governor, is asking that question because I understand he's going to veto the bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's crazy. They at one point, I think they thought they needed all this money, and as the governor pointed out in the last veto message, he said, "Well, you know, upon reflection, we don't need that much money." But the real, the tobacco, the trust fund, it's a trust fund, you know, and the taxpayers don't put a dime in it. The money is paid for by the tobacco settlement. So the point is, why would you take that money when it's not taxpayers' money?
I don't even know if it's illegal. Um, you
uh, it's probably illegal, but they shouldn't do it. And the governor, I think he caught on.
Yeah.
I must say, Charlie and I were talking before you came on about Governor Ige, his performance during COVID. I think even with the last list of vetoes, I think very appreciative. I know Charlie and I have been covering COVID now for since March of last year, so we've been doing this for a very long time. We've had a lot of people on our show, and the governor has really taken the conservative, safe direction, which we appreciate truly. And again, when he came out with the list of veto or the intent to veto the bills, very proud of him. I'm thankful that he stood firm and he didn't cave in to pressure. What are your thoughts as far as Governor Ige's performance from COVID and uh, I mean, I don't want to. That's probably a horrible question to ask, but
It
I
is.
I shouldn't say Governor Ige. Let's just say, what is your take on the state's performance or the direction that the state has taken? More specifically, recently, where we're actually opening up But overall, from 15 months ago till today, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that the governor has struggled through this pandemic, uh, and I think we need to understand that the information that was coming in was not always good information, and I think he's trying to do the best he can. Some people think that, well, it's you know that he's too conservative, but when it comes to health issues, I think that he's doing the right thing.
Okay. So another thing I wanted to find out from you, sir, your term as governor, what, aside from all the, the accomplishments, what have you seen from your time to now? And I understand there's been changing times along the way, but many of us, like I'm in my 60s now, and I always try to feel that, sometimes we got to scale back a little. It's just like it's that train that's out of control. It's just about ready to jump off the tracks. And it's a very, very uncomfortable feeling. What do you see the difference now from back when you were governor?
Well, I'm liberal on social issues, but on fiscal issues, I tend to be conservative.
Mm.
And if you look at my administration, that's how I govern. I think that there's either a lack of understanding or maybe a lack of vision as to how the decisions made on fiscal matters will affect future generations. Uh, I think Iggy saw some of that, which is why he vetoed the budget, which I thought was a gutsy move. But that's the difference. I don't think that most of the legislators today, they're so young, uh, have a grasp of what the budget means, what government spending means. Now, I'm all in favor of spending for the right things. You know, um, build schools, fine. And doing things like that. But there's too much spending on things that we don't really need.
Mm. Okay.
Housing. I don't know why nobody gets this. I don't know if it's a problem on Maui, but I understand it is a problem. Uh, People are building these monster homes, and the city council and the mayor, they're being criticized for that. But look at why these people are building monster homes. There's a shortage of affordable rentals. That's why these people have gone into that market. So instead of putting billions into things like rail, yeah, we should do affordable rentals. In California, they have a program. It's rent to buy. You ever heard of that? Rent to
Mhm.
buy.
Yep.
You rent the unit for X number of years, maybe 25, 30 years. At the end, they give you the title to the unit. What does it do for the renter? He doesn't have to put a down payment, and he has hopes and aspirations that he will own this unit one day if he continues to rent it. That's kind of innovative. I have not heard it here anywhere. You know.
Mm.
Yeah, that is one of the frustrations because you hear about it every election, every campaign season. You hear every politician talking about that, and there's just never any uh, action. A lot of talk, and I think when you talk about the wasteful spending, and it happens on every island, where if you focus, I just saw Kauai is doing a 30,000, and this small money, relatively speaking, but still, it's the thought, right? So we're spending $30,000 to do a parking lot hire a consultant to do a parking study for Lidgate Park. That $30,000 could pay for people that are struggling right now that's still not working. You know, electric bill, water bill, and so forth. And that's just a small example. And your example of the monster homes. Now you paint the monster home to be the evil person, but there's a market, right, Governor? There's a market because people cannot afford to get a rental. So um, isn't that the American way? You find a need, you fill the need, you make money, and that's how it is. So I understand the anger towards those monster homes because they're ugly and the parking. But if we had done our job as a government to provide affordable rentals, then there would be no market
Yeah,
for those monster homes.
you'd have to do the job on a big way, on, you know, a massive housing program.
Yeah.
Well, I like to, talking about that project there. I think it also gives the potential buyer down the road, even though it may be 10, 20 years, 30 years down the road, it gives them a self-worth of keeping pride, right? Because you see some of these younger folks, I know they're struggling, but you see some of these rentals that they're in, some of them do take care of it, and then there's some that just won't take care of it. But I think if you give them that sense of pride that it'll be yours one day, I think we might see a change of attitude. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and one of the pluses of that particular program is that a lot of many of the young people don't have the down payment,
Yes.
you know. So if you can get in and you rent it for 25 years, which is about the period of a mortgage, and then you get the title at the end, well, you own something, you
Mhm.
know.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you running for governor the next election?
um, I told you, Mel, I'm 82 this year.
And you know, uh, one of the things, and I this is the first, and maybe I wasn't really paying attention in prior. I just don't recall the mixed messaging that comes out of the state leadership. The governor, lieutenant governor comes across sometimes with different messaging. I don't recall that in your administration or any of the other administrations. Um, is that something that you had to deal with? Or you didn't have that issue when you were governor?
Well, you know, when I was lieutenant governor, I was elected lieutenant governor. The first thing Governor Wahia and I did, we sat down to have a talk. And I told him that there's some issues that I was for or against in the legislature that I will continue to be for and against. And one of them I said was rail. Governor was pro rail at that particular time. I don't know where he is now. So the only time that worked, because I would tell the governor where I was going or where I was standing on issues. And oftentimes I would just shut up and wouldn't say anything. But the one time that I guess he was surprised was when I spoke out on the appointment of Sharon Jimeno to the uh, uh, Hawaii Supreme Court. I was on Maui. I found out about it through the news media, and I didn't have a chance to consult with the governor. They wanted my comments, and I said she's not qualified, and that caused that became a very big issue. But other than that, I think Governor Wahia and I got along well. For example, the most successful program that I was involved with as lieutenant governor was the A plus program, you know,
Mhm.
and this was for latchkey children. Uh, Having been a latchkey kid myself when I was growing up, I knew the importance of caring for kids after school. And when we did our research, we found out that there were about 30,000 elementary school kids after school who were not with their parents. They go home alone, they go to the library, they be in the parks. And today is different from when I was in elementary school because there's danger today for these kids, you know. And so we came up with this A+ program, which was very successful. Within a year of the program being in action, it had an enrollment of about 28,000 kids and
Mm.
received a 95% approval rating by the parents. So it wouldn't have happened without Governor Wahe helping me, you know.
What what's your feeling about the Department of Education? We hear so many pros and cons. I know during COVID, it became an issue where, you know, safety first, right? But now trying to get the kids back into school, seeing how much time they had lost. Um, Sometimes, like even on Kauai, we may hear favorable. Some points are favorable, yet we hear the unfavorable. So it doesn't seem to be a total agreement on the Department of Education and how it's being run. What's your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, like you said, safety first, yeah. And so if that was the thought that ran through the majority of the board, then that's why they did what they did. Uh, Personally, I don't think that the board and maybe the state did enough in terms of online learning. You know, maybe it's
Mhm.
because a lot of kids didn't have computers. If that's the case, then you got to provide them with something. You know, but got to reopen the schools because the kids need to learn.
Mhm. Okay. Good.
Yeah, that's a concern even till today. And you know, one of the and I don't know what the number is now, but there's over $100 million of COVID money, you know, that haven't hasn't been spent. There's so much need for funding for different programs. And by the way, thank you for the A+ program. That was and that's running strong till today. And there's one more thing that I know you won't mention, but uh, Kakako Medical School.
Oh yeah.
You oh yeah, that little thing that you did, the
Well,
legacy of Ben Cayetano. You know, I got to tell you, and I don't think I bet a lot of people watching have no idea. Maybe some of them on Oahu, but you want to share that story with us?
one of the objectives that I developed in my first term, I felt that Hawaii could become the premier health center of the Pacific, and that was because uh, an experience that I had when the King of Malaysia came to Hawaii, and he wanted to play golf. King is a good golf player, you know. And my protocol officer said, "Can you take the king to Wailai?" Okay, we went to Wailai. I'm terrible golfer, incidentally. He was very good. And I asked him, I said, Your Majesty, what brings you to Hawaii? He said, "Oh, I'm just stopping over because I'm on my way to Stanford for my yearly executive checkup." And the light went off in my head, and I said, "You know what? Why can't these guys come to Hawaii?" Yeah. And look at Asia. When you look at Asia and you look at the demographics of our doctors and nurses and medical technicians here, we reflect Asia. You know, we have a lot of doctors who are Asians. We have Filipinos, Chinese, Japanese, etc. And our hospitals are pretty good. Uh, Dean Cadman, who we brought over from Yale, told me. I asked him one time. I said, "Hey, Dean, how does our hospital stack up to the ones in Connecticut, where he was from?" He said, "Just as good, just as good." You know, and so that's why I thought we had to build a medical school. And so uh, we uh, we built the medical school through the use of the tobacco money. You know, so that medical school was built without really any taxpayer money. Now, the operation, of course, is funded by taxpayers. The school today, I was told by Dr. Tom Cosasa, who's pretty well known here, and he teaches in the school. We were having dinner one day, and he told me, Governor, you know that our school is ranked 20th in the nation now? And you know, for only 70 spots, there are like 7,000 applications from all over the country. You gotta feel good about that, you know? And but we know that we have a shortage of doctors. So that's another reason why we did that. But overall was a bigger vision for the state to become like the center for healthcare for the Pacific.
Wow.
Beautiful campus. You should visit sometime.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say one thing, not digressing off of anything that we discussed so far. But I'm at 82, sir. I am very, very amazed at your memory, and you're calling off names that you still remember. I can't even remember names of people I met last week, let alone that. So I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
Well, it helped that I wrote a book,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and to write that book, uh, uh, Mike Fisher, who was the publisher of the advertiser at that time, we became friends. He told me, Ben, if you want to use our library, anytime. And I would spend a lot of time in there going over the newspapers and all of that. And I
Mhm.
wrote the book. Yeah.
Well, fine job, sir. Fine job.
And the book's title is
Ben, you know what? I didn't choose the title. In fact, I felt kind of awkward, but my publisher said, no, no, we wanna highlight the fact that you were once a kid in the streets and you became governor. So, yeah.
well, it's quite a story. I yeah, I heard you speak so many occasions, always very inspiring and articulate, and again, straight from the heart. And it's so it's so pleasing to hear, especially politicians, because it's hard to find that nowadays. It's really hard. Uh, Governor Ige, I enjoy listening to Governor Ige too, and it's because he's speaking. He's so calm, cool, and collected when he's doing his press conferences. I know the pressure that he has been getting um, from all over regarding this COVID and reopening, and yet he has managed to stand firm against all of this heavy duty pressure, and, uh, and it makes me happy that that's the kind of governor we have, and at the same time, you read all the pot shots people take because of everyone that felt that we should have opened a long time ago. That in fact we should have brought in the tourists. The reason we are doing so well today is because of the sacrifices that we made because of the leadership that we had.
Hmm.
Did you remember a time where issues that the pressure was? I mean, politicians get pressure every day, but you recall what is the, the biggest recollection or the strongest recollection of pressure that was an issue that was so controversial.
Teachers strike in 2001.
Mm.
The teachers union always supported me right up to from my house race to the governorship. They were always behind me because I convinced them that I was pro-education. But in 2001, they wanted more money than I thought we could afford, and so we had a, a battle over the in the negotiations, and they, they they pretty much threatened me. They said, you know what, if if you don't give us this what we want, we're going to strike. And basically, I said, well, you're going to strike, you strike, and they struck.
Yeah.
and and I must have been the most unpopular guy in the whole state. I mean, a lot of pressure from the parents because their kids are not in school and all that. Then the University of Hawaii faculty joined in the strike, and that was a lot of pressure. You know, I wasn't very popular, put it that way.
Yeah, well, but again, you stood your ground, and I think that's what people respect. That I really cannot stand when you put a little bit of pressure, turn up the heat a little bit, and then people start flipping and flopping all over the place, and we see that now. And we're not going to get into, you. The last article that I saw, it was a split article that was in the Star Advertiser, and you said gutsy call from the governor and a low blow from the lieutenant governor because he had went directly against the governor. Did you get any flack for that?
Surprisingly, on my Facebook, most agreed with me. There were some people who felt, well, you know, it's good to air different ideas. But my own feeling is that this is like a war. You know, I'm all for discussions. I mean, for having robust discussions, for airing different ideas or different opinions. But this is a war, you know. And when it comes down to it, you're not going to win this war with a democratic process. Somebody got to look at things, make a decision, and lead. And that's why I maybe I was harsh on Josh Green. Frankly, I don't think so. But you know, I mean, the guy has been on the governor ever since COVID began. You know, and but of course, he's looking down the road. I guess he wants to run for governor.
You
But
know that
Charlie and I talk about and let Charlie discuss because he brought this up a while ago about, and this was way months and months ago. Charlie talked about the mixed messaging. Charlie, maybe you want to touch on that.
yeah, it's always been, I call it a worrisome phenomenon, because I've always believed, and many of us do, especially in those of us who are lay people, that we're good supporters. Where when messaging is right, if the messaging is done right, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, we'll go for it. We'll help in any way. But throughout this entire time, just because an individual may have a title like an MD after their name, we were having difficult time coming to grips with the information that was coming out from their office, because we've had experts on the show that said otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
and that a lot of the experts throughout the world was kind of going the opposite direction. Now, I will say Hawaii has been spared in many ways. And so I think when they opened up tourism, which is the safest place to come, Hawaii. And that's now we got over tourism in a very, very short period of time. That's why, there's no cars. It's hard to get hotel rooms. People are renting U-Haul vans. The list goes on and on and on. But as Mel said, we've always been feeling that, hey, what is the message? What are you trying to, achieve? Yet it was very pronounced that this guy is seeking office, and hoping that he capture the crowd going this route, which just didn't make sense to us.
Well, in the long run, I think that it may not help him. During the teacher strike, the lieutenant governor walked the picket line with the teachers, and I was a little annoyed, and I told her, you should be on my side. That's like the backup quarterback rooting for the other team, you know,
Mm.
and they go through these moments of weakness, and there was a moment of weakness on the lieutenant governor, who's now one of our senators, and looked like she's found her niche. Uh, but you don't do that, and the reason she did it was Lingle and Jeremy Harris, who were contenders for governor. They were walking the picket line with the teachers. So that's the kind of time when you're gonna have the resolve, right?
Right.
So
That had to have been very, very, very frustrating. And you know, the one thing that I'm concerned is that there's a lot of people that listen to. Well, you listen to the governor, and he's very clear. I'm going to wait until it's safe, which we all totally respect and appreciate. And then the lieutenant governor comes out and says, "Don't worry, you know, there's no concern of the variant. We're, you know, you got the vaccine, you're totally immune, and all it is." So you have that sense of minimization, which now people are letting their guards down. And uh, at a time where this variant is coming to our state, or is in our state, it's kind of scary. You can only hope that at some point the messaging is clear. Unfortunately, that won't happen until, you know, something bad happens, and that's what we hope to prevent. So it's so scary, scary. Well, and we're running out of time, but tourism, Governor, what's your thoughts on tourism as we reopen? We cannot handle the overload now because a lot of places don't have their full staff back. They cannot find workers, like Charlie mentioned, the cars. Do you think we should be managing the it's kind of late now, but managing tourism versus promoting tourism? What's your thoughts?
well, I don't think you need to promote tourism because they're coming in loads. From what I understand, the hotels on Maui are running like 70% or something occupancy. And Maui obviously is very popular. There's a lot of tourists there. Um, the concern that I have about tourism is that last year we had 10 million, and the way it's going right now, we'll definitely hit 11 million. When I was in the Senate, we did a carrying capacity study, and at that particular time, the study concluded that I think it was 10 million would be the ultimate, number that we could handle. These tourists come in and they use our roads. They wear on the infrastructure. Uh, there's a price to it. And the other thing too is that I was telling my wife the other day, I haven't been to Waikiki Beach in over 50 years. I feel like I've been iced out,
Yeah.
you know, because and I don't have any animosity to the tourists, of course, but the reality is that that beach is, is the queen of all beaches, and it's been overrun by people who don't live here, uh, and the people who live here uh, have to go someplace else. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's a premium that should be paid for that.
Mm.
You know, and while as difficult as it is to manage tourism, I think the way you manage tourism is through the taxing process. You increase the tax and you try to get a better rate of tourists coming to Hawaii.
You know, it's been a scary thought, when we see these, we talk about getting that premium tourist, the least amount that wouldn't mind paying the higher price for that luxury and that experience. But yet we see it going the opposite direction with cheap fares coming from the West Coast. Yet inter-island flights are always more than a West Coast ticket for some reason, just
Yeah.
going island hopping. And so I look at it as we got two things happening. We have the tourism coming up, and I'm like you, sir. You know, I enjoy their company, but once they get to a saturation point, there is really no more experience. It's just bodies, massive amount of bodies clumped together. There is, because I still remember when the Kodak Hula Show was in Waikiki. I
Yeah.
still can remember when I swam down as a small kid down the natatorium. I still can remember where it was fun just to go watch the big fountain right across the Elks Club, and somebody didn't throw laundry soap in there and watch all the things bubble up in those days. You know,
I
all
remember.
those all those things happen. And nowadays it's just wall to wall with people. So I'm trying to think, where is that experience? We're trying to give them an experience, but they can get that experience going into New York City if they want, because it's wall to wall. And like you said, one of the comments were, what about um, Department of Hawaiian Homelands? The lands for local people still waiting on the list, waiting for their turn to that final goal. When they're in their 70s, waiting, and they still haven't been called to get their piece of land.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, though. As I understand it, a law was just passed that would allow successors with 1/32. The bigger the group of successors, the impact the inventory that's available for
Mhm.
the 50 percenters, for example. You know, now I understand why there are successes because a lot of it is family, and but it's complicated.
Mhm.
A lot of complicated stuff going on, Governor. Man, that hour went by way, way, way too quick. But we do appreciate you coming on tonight. Any closing thoughts for our viewers? Anything? We're kicking off your campaign for governor in the next election tonight, and I,
You're gonna find maybe you'll find another Cayetano someplace, but not this one. I'm done. It's time to hand it over to the next generation.
well, that's the task for all of us, is to find quality candidates that speak and act in behalf of our people. I think as you talk about tourism, when the drive for that tourist dollar starts to compromise the quality of life of our residents, then that's not the formula. That is a wrong formula, and it's just unfortunately that's the reality. And but what's your closing thoughts, Governor? And where can we buy your book?
Oh, you can get it on Amazon. That book sold almost 10,000 copies, so it was a bestseller on the Honolulu Advertiser nonfiction list for 16 weeks. So it did really well. You can still get it on Amazon. You can get it in Kindle and paperback.
Well, all of our viewers tonight, and I'm going to post the Amazon link on my page. Everybody go get the book. I'm intrigued. I'm inspired. But anyway, what any closing thoughts besides the book? Words of advice, words of wisdom for our viewers.
Well, it's hard, but I think that when people vote, they should really look at the character of the people who are running, you know, and their thoughts about Hawaii. Uh, I don't know what I don't know what else to say. Frankly, I'm a loss for words when it comes to this.
I think they get your drift. Charlie,
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you so much to you, sir. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. You know, emotionally, the people know me, but emotionally, I'm almost brought to tears because I get the opportunity to take a step back in time with this gentleman by the name of Ben Cayetano. I remember all the good. I remember all the controversies growing up, but yet it was a time that, like you said, you win, you win, you move. But we all learn that when it's said and done, we can shake hands and we can move together in the right direction. And that is what I miss the most, is those memories where, it was okay to disagree or agree, but yet when it's said and done, we can shake our hands, shake each other's hands, and move forward to make a better Hawaii. And I think we have lost that somewhere along the line. And I think that's why it's just like I'm taking a step back in time, and emotionally, my heart is full, and this will be one of my highlight of my time with you, Mel, to interview a guest such as this gentleman right here. So thank you very much, Governor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, Charlie, this one definitely ranks up there, man. I gotta tell you, inspiring, motivating to some extent.
Yep.
Governor, just hearing your your tone, your knowledge, just your story, just actually makes us feel good. Whenever we come on live 3 nights a week now, we're always talking about things that aren't very happy, but tonight was a nice it was a nice discussion, and I thank you so much. Please give our love and aloha to your wife, and thank her for letting you share an hour of your time with us tonight. For our folks out there, I hope you guys got a amazing view of Governor Cayetano. Go get his book. Ben is the name of the book. Amazon. Go check it out on Amazon. I'm gonna check with the governor tomorrow. Find out how many books sold tonight, guys. There better be a couple of hundred books sold tonight, at least. But Governor, thank you very much. All kidding aside, we appreciate all that you've done for our state. So many accomplishments. Not enough time to go over them all, but stay safe and enjoy your retirement, man, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys Wednesday night. Take care. God bless everybody. Stay safe.
Aloha.
Aloha.